Inauguration Day occurs in the United States once every 4 years, on January 20. It occurs in the year after the presidential elections have been held. Both the President and Vice President are officially sworn into office and their terms begin at noon on January 20. New members of Congress take their oath of office on January 4. From Election Day until January 20, the person who won the presidential election is referred to as the President-elect, and the current president who will be leaving office is referred to as a lame duck president. The reason for the delay from Election Day to Inauguration Day is twofold. First, collecting and tallying the votes used to take a great deal longer than it does today. Years ago, the votes had to be carried across the country via horse and buggy, and then later by train. Further, the new president-elect needed time to travel to and move into the White House. Second, an incoming president needs time to determine cabinet positions and other appointments before taking office. Also, the outgoing president needs time to assist in the transition of a new executive staff. The head of state of the United States has been a president since 1789. In that year, George Washington was elected and inaugurated as the President of the United States of America. He was inaugurated for the first time on April 30, 1789, and for the second time on March 4, 1793. Subsequent inaugurations were held on March 4 until the second inauguration of President Franklin Roosevelt, which was held on January 20, 1937. Since then, Inauguration Day has been held on January 20, and the term of office officially starts at 12 noon on that date. Both of George Washington's inaugurations were held at Federal Hall in New York City, where he was sworn in by Robert Livingston, the Chancellor of the State of New York. In 1801, Thomas Jefferson became the first president to be sworn in as a president in Washington, D.C., which had officially become the federal capital on June 11, 1800. From the presidencies of Andrew Jackson through Jimmy Carter, the primary Inauguration Day ceremony took place on the Capitol's east portico, a roof supported by columns and no walls. Since the 1981 inauguration of Ronald Reagan, the ceremony has been held at the Capitol's west front. The inaugurations of William Howard Taft in 1909 and Ronald Reagan in 1985 were moved indoors at the Capitol because of cold weather. And during the War of 1812 and World War II, 2 inaugurations were held at other locations in Washington, D.C. for security reasons. The swearing-in ceremonies take place at the U.S. Capitol and is organized by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. The Vice President is sworn in first, then the President is sworn in exactly at 12 noon. It is the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court that administers the oath of office to the President. The oath that the President takes is set forth in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution. It reads, "Before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." After they have been sworn in, the President and Vice President are given 4 ruffles and flourishes, a short musical composition played on drums and bugles. The ruffles and flourishes form a fanfare before performance of the President's anthem, Hail to the Chief. And the Vice President's anthem, Hail Columbia, which are performed by the United States Marine Band. There is then a 21-gun salute from the howitzers of the Military District of Washington. The new president then gives a speech, which is called the inaugural address. It is up to the president to determine how long the address will be. The shortest was that of George Washington, only 135 words. The longest was that of William Henry Harrison, 8,495 words. or as some called it, the address that never ended. After the ceremony, the President and Vice President are guests of honor at a luncheon given by the United States Congress. Later in the day, they parade down Pennsylvania Avenue, walking part of the way from the Capitol to the White House. At the end of the day, the President and Vice President attend the Inauguration Ball, a tradition that started with the presidency of James Madison. If Inauguration Day falls on a Sunday, the presidential oath is usually administered in a private ceremony on that day, and a public ceremony and celebrations are held the following day. The inaugural celebrations usually last 10 days, from 5 days before the inauguration to 5 days after. When a new president takes over midterm due to the death or resignation of the president, the oath of office is administered, but no public inauguration events are held. Since 1901, all inaugural ceremonies at the United States Capitol have been organized by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. The Presidential Inaugural Committee is the legal entity that raises and distributes funds for events other than the ceremony, such as the balls and parade. The U.S. military has participated in Inauguration Day ceremonies since George Washington's because the President is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. In addition to the public, the attendees at the ceremony generally include members of Congress, Supreme Court justices, high-ranking military officers, former presidents, living Medal of Honor recipients, and other dignitaries. The outgoing president customarily attends the inauguration, barring those cases where succession was due to his death. The security for the inaugural ceremonies is a very complex matter, involving the Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security, Federal Protective Service of all 5 branches of the Armed Forces, the Capitol Police, the United States Park Service, and the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia. Federal law enforcement agencies also sometimes request assistance from various other state and local law enforcement agencies throughout the United States.